Okay, I've already done a few videos, so if you would like to know in detail what I think is going to happen to gold, silver, the miners, check out the commodities video. But I will still recap very quickly before I go through my portfolio what I think are the scenarios that can unfold for gold and the miners. So at the moment, gold, obviously, we closed way below 1950. For me, 1950 was the level, a level, the first level of support, really. We closed way below that. I mean, there was that one day where it was 1948. You can sort of cut it some slack. Next day we did rally above, but look, plus it's a Friday close. So, I mean, look at the weekly candle just to re-emphasize the point, definitely close below. Where do I think we go next? Support, I mean, resistance will be 1950. After that, I don't know. I suppose the old 1980s. No, I suppose 2000 to the old high, 2010. You know what, 2010. So there's no resistance until 2010 and 1950, of course, first. On the way down, support, that's what's more important because at the moment, I think we're more concerned about support since we've lost support. The old descending, right? So if we were to visit that straight away on Monday, given the time factor, that would be around 1910, I would say. We did see a bit of support once before around 1910, so it could be 1910 rather than 1900. But for me, 1900 to 1910 is support, resistance 1950, otherwise 2010. That's for gold. For silver, it doesn't matter as much because actually I think gold is more important. It will create the support and resistance for silver, but otherwise 21.8, I covered that in my last video. Is 22 support? Normally I would say yes, but no, I don't think so. So 21.8 is support on the way down. I'm not going to talk about support lower than that because it shouldn't come into play because I only see one support, and that's this previous low, like 20.8, let's say. So it looks like, yeah, 21 to 20.8. Resistance on the way up, nothing until 23.6-ish. That's gold and silver. Now the miners, and that's what we're talking about in this video, since I'm covering the portfolio, where we are is a support zone. Okay, so 32.8-ish, you can see it's the last low here on this day, 1st November, and also on this day, 26th of October. That was the low of day. Obviously, we pierced lower than that on Friday, but we closed pretty much at that level. It's also kind of the low from down here. It's also near a round number of 33, but yeah, 32.8 seems to be a mini support zone. After that, we've got 32 actually. And then after that, it's the low from the gold when it was 1810-ish. So that's 30.5. That's the support on the way down. Resistance on the way up. Obviously, the absolute high, 36. It's actually just below that, 35.5, 36. Is there another one here? 34.5, maybe a little rough one. Is the descending resistance again? No, it's not. We pierced through it. Actually, I could remove that. I could remove that. It's actually irrelevant at this point. GDX, on the other hand, very quickly, again, same sort of horizontal level where we're just hanging on roughly. Give it the benefit of the doubt. Tiny gap fill, not really. And then the absolute low of gold when it was 1810. Resistance on the way up. And actually, this descending is relevant because it's been touching it the whole time. We didn't really pierce below except maybe Friday. So I'm going to leave it because it's just one day. But this descending does actually get to stay. On the way up, resistance, I would say 29.5 to 30. Very simple. We just need to go back up. And for that, gold must not start going down to 1900s and or lower, of course. Okay, let's look at the actual miners, starting with Newmont, which has made new lows, so it's been underperforming the miners. Remember, the miners have got, if I remember the old video, another 5.5% downside to get to its old low when gold was at 1810. Newmont has already made a new low. However, on Friday, it closed green. It was something I suspected might happen during the day. It was just strong during the day. If I look at the 3-minute, my favorite intraday, you can just see it was flagging to go up and it closed a higher day. So actually, not very strong, relatively strong compared to the index and its peers. But obviously, if you zoom out, look where it is. And by the way, just in case we have this flush of 5% in the GDX and we go all the way down to 1810-ish levels in gold, these are the two levels I see. The March 2020 low, right? The COVID low of 33. which we're not too far away, which is probably why we're starting to make a nice bounce. And the absolute lows from at 30. I mean, it does pierce a little lower, 29, but I think 30 is a big round number. Also, this little curl here, and it's a big number. So for me, and look, it even stretches further all the way down to here. So for me, 30 is the absolute line in the sand for Newmont. I don't know why it would go lower, but then again, I didn't expect it to go this low. So that's the levels on the way down. On the way up, you would expect the prior support to be resistant 35. Honestly, I think if we're rallying, we're going to do a bit more than 35. We're probably going to go back up to here, this triple support area, 36, 37. But I'm not interested in setting these ranges, so I don't even want to put them in. Just wondering where this really counts. It probably will a bit, but I want to keep it simple. So 35, 36.5 roughly, and then all the way up to 39. I'll probably, if I do want to make little sells, because I think the sector's going to roll over, my first sells will probably be around 39 and then obviously 40, just mini sells. But zoom out, look where you're selling. You know, in 18 months, it will probably, in my opinion, be higher than 55. And then you're thinking, oh, I was just flipping it over here, you know, from 34, 35 to 39, whereas now it's going to the 60s. So for me, this is just a general zoom out, buy the dip, and then go on a holiday or just forget about it for a while. This is a massive low period. Gold, Barrick Gold. Okay, not as bad as Newmont. You can see it's done its little gap fill. It's following GDX more than Newmont because it's actually following GDX quite well. You know, if GDX goes down 5%, you can expect Barrick Gold to be down at 14 or just below. So I think it's following the GDX quite well, which is its job, actually. I like to hold miners that are following the index quite well, hopefully outperforming, of course. So there you go. Support zone, next one's down here. After that, it's the absolute low from down here. So that's 13. So nice big numbers, 14, 13. And at the moment, we're at 15. So 15, 14, 13. If we go lower, then, well, what a surprise, 12, it looks like. But I don't think we will have to cover that for some time. On the way up, the old high of 17, maybe 16.5. 16 doesn't seem to be resistance. A little bit 16.5, 17. So between 16.5 and 17. Otherwise, 18. God, this is a simple one. And then the big 20. That's it. Barrick Gold doesn't take long to review. Agnico-Eagle, probably my favorite. Another one that's outperforming Newmont at least, and looks like it's more in line with the GDX. I mean, you can see this support zone where it is now. Obviously, we know GDX is at a rough support zone, but look how many times it's hit this 47 zone, you know? So 47 is pretty obvious mini support. And then we're going to find resistance at 50, probably just before 50. If we clear that, and I think we're far away from clearing the first level of resistance, but let's just pretend it happens, 53 and then 54. If we flush, I don't know, 45 will really be support. Looks like actually 43 is support. Maybe a pit stop at 45 and then 43. I'll just add this line because it's obviously going to be support if we venture down that area. And after that, well, we'll see. I'm not going to talk about sub 40 levels for now. Okay, Pan American Silver. This one, a bit like Newmont, but it had a worse day because Newmont closed green, whereas Pan American Silver closed red, but it did just about try and close at its support zone that was put in from this candle here. Not the best day. It had bad news, but I think it's a wonderful stock, you know, just because its earnings aren't as good as those as most anticipated. I think it's a hell of a buy here, especially on bad news. Next level is 1050-ish. I do not see it going 1050. I mean, think about it. That's a massive drop actually from where it is now. I don't see any support until 1050, but I don't think we're going there. That's 20%. So I think we're at support. If, of course, the GDXs start to go down and gold just goes down to 1900 or maybe lower, if we really have a flush, then I think that is the absolute mother of all opportunities in Pan American Silver. I don't see how you shouldn't buy that. I mean, I will be buying that. I don't know if it will actually go all the way to 1050. It'll obviously stop off on the way. That's probably when I I would zoom in on something like this and say, okay, actually 14 plus it's a round number. If we go lower, maybe 12, I don't think 13 is a level, but 14, maybe a little bit of 12, and then I'd probably buy 11s. I wouldn't wait for 1050, because imagine you're waiting at 1050 because that's the level you see, and then it rallies at 11.12, you know, and you missed it. So I wouldn't get too greedy down there. Anyway, that's, you know, maybe for another day, but it's just about held on. You really need to see a rally. Resistance on the way up. Ooh, I wouldn't say this anymore. I would probably look at this descending, actually, but I would not be selling that. So I think, imagine we rally straight away. The old high up here, 15 to 1550 is probably where you get a bit of resistance because of the descending, also because it was the last high it really made. Last time it was hovering around this area. And then you know, if you close higher, then you go to the next level, that'll be 60, just below 17. I don't know. I will not be selling Pan American here, though. I mean, unless I buy quite a lot, if it flushes, oh, I can't imagine myself selling too soon. I like to zoom out just like Newmont and say this is a massive senior miner. And if the metals, gold and silver, really start to rally, Newmont and Pan America are one of the top two to hold because they will definitely be higher. You know, they are well established, they are not going bankrupt. And you can't say the same for a lot of the other juniors and medium tier ones. So take advantage by the dip. That's my opinion. So yeah, Wheaton doing its job, and I'm really considering just liquidating Wheaton and just spreading the proceeds amongst the other top four that I've got, because Wheaton doesn't have, I say this in a lot of my videos, you know, to get to its old high, it's 35%, which is a nice number, but let's just look at Newmont, which is, I think, the biggest in the world. If, you know, where's 35%? Well, that's just to get to where we were a couple of weeks ago. So, and that's Wheaton's high of day percentage difference, you know. But the good news, even though it doesn't have too much to travel on the upside, it doesn't go down much when the miners go down, or the metal. So it's a good defensive hold, and it's done its job. And I just feel like I'm really going to have a conversation with myself after liquidating Wheaton and just spreading it amongst the, you know, Pan America, Newmont. I don't want to touch any silvers yet. I want to be a bit more defensive. Yeah, really the top four. It wouldn't be a bad idea at all. So Wheaton's done its job. Hasn't gone down much, and it doesn't have much to go up. So anyway, let's cover the levels in case you're interested. I haven't really analyzed Wheaton too much. This I can remove. It is no longer valid. So we can see there's a bit of a low down here. So 42 seems to be a mini level. If we flush that, yeah, 41, a mini level. Let's hit that several times, roughly. And if it goes lower than that, I don't think 40 is a level, funnily enough. I think 38 and a half, 38 to 38 and a half is, yeah. There you go. That's why I leave my lines in, because I consider them still correct. So, I mean, I guess I could just put a small little line here just to remind myself in case it's a very active day. I don't want to research. But yeah, just 42, 41, and 38 to 38 and a half. But if it's going down here, it's probably the whole sector getting smashed, and I'm probably very happy with Wheaton going down very little, because how much of a drop is this? 10%. Yeah, everything else is probably getting smashed. So, and the resistance on the way up, in case I don't sell it and I just hold it, 45, 46, 47, 48 and a half. Okay, we'll see. If it's starting to move up here, either it's just got fantastic breaking news, or the whole sector's just found its footing and rallied. Okay, let's look at First Majestic. Now we're looking at the silvers. Now, First Majestic has, despite what the chart says, it's actually done very well down here. It's found good support. Remember, the last 5-6 trading days, the GDX has gone down, right? Gold's gone down from in the 2000s all the way down to 1938. So we've come down in gold, we've come down in the miners, and First Majestic, which I think had bad news in addition, has really found a good footing. So, but despite, you know, holding, let's say 4.5-ish, and you can see why it's got a good level of strength here. It's the COVID low of 4 point, whatever it is, 2.5, 4.3. It's pretty much where we are now. The difference between 4.3 and 4.6 is 0. I always say stuff like this because you got to have perspective. And here, look at this long-term, like decade ascending, multi-decade, like 2-decade, no, sorry, 1.5, ascending support also intersect. So for me, huge support should be here. It's also a decent stock. So, and we've had bad news and it's all been digested. And we had green days when the sector was down. You know, we had, I remember it's like up 3 or 4% when everything else was red. That's a massive bottoming signal. However, if the miners, the index, the metals keep going down, you can't expect First Majestic to keep being green or just have unchanged days. It's going to be red, like it's forced to. So that means for me, it is a massive buy the dip. If you're lucky enough to keep having the sector go down, if gold goes to 1910 or the GDX starts to go all the way back down to where it was when gold was at 1810, my God, imagine gold goes down to 1810 again. You're going to have the miners even lower than where it was when gold was at 1810. But let's just put that aside. If the metals and the miners keep going lower, you will actually be able to find First Majestic at low falls. And what a buy that is. And you know what? The proceeds from Wheaton at that point, I'll probably throw a little bit into First Majestic, or I'll just buy a bit of First Majestic outright with the cash I have on the sidelines. But I like what I see. You know, that's the point. It's strong relative to its peers, relative to the index, the metals. And just because it's going to be forced to go lower, I mean, I'm going to take advantage of that. I like to buy winners rather than losers. Another winner is First Majestic. That came out with really good news also recently. You can see it's way off its lows, right? So this one is really a bit like First Majestic. These two I put together, so to speak. So if this one is forced lower because of the metals and the miners, etc., it's another one to consider. However, it is not as low as First Majestic. When you zoom all the way out, it's not at its multi-decade lows. But still, it's, you know, you're not supposed to buy stocks just because they're at their absolute lows. It's about how high they can go from where they are. And I think if it goes all the way back down to, let's say, 2.6, which is the next level of support, there's a little bit of support here. You can see it's found support around 2.7, 2.8. But, you know, I'm talking about a massive smash in the sector. If we do go down to 2.6, which is not too far away anyway, it's probably a bit of a buy. And if it goes all the way down here, then the sector's probably getting absolutely mutilated. And then at that point, it is also a buy, of course, more of a buy. But the point is, it's had good news and it's bucked a bit of the trend, just like First Majestic. I just think relative to First Majestic, it's not as much of a buy. But these two are decent. EXK, this is the opposite of decent. However, it had bad news. But look at this count. And I bought this low. Was it 13 or something? No, I'm thinking about another one. That's CDE. That's not there. 83, sorry, 83. Yeah, that was it, 183. So, and I did buy 183 here on the XK low, but not much. And to be honest, it's probably going to revisit that anyway, and it may even flush it if the sector keeps going down. But the point is, it was like down 15%. I remember this. It was down 15% on the day. Let's take the close of the prior day and go all the way down. There you go. 15% is the low. And it just reversed so well. This is a great day, except it couldn't continue because the sector and the metals did bad. So it revisited. But you can see it seems to be finding a bit of support just before its absolute low. But again, we may be forced to go down there if the sector and the metal just keep flushing. If gold goes down $30 on Monday, or Monday, Tuesday combined, we're going to be back down here for sure, maybe even lower. So what's the next level of support? I mean, this is the major one, $1. Wow. But it won't go there straight away. It'll probably stop off at 140. Go on, let's zoom in on this period because that's where you find the levels. Yeah, so you can see this low here. Look at this. 1.35, 1.4. And then you can probably get to 1.2 and then 1. But yeah, no, I'll put 1.4 in just in case we do start to flush that 1.8. It's just for me, so I can, it's like a quick draw. I just quickly go to the chart and then straight away I don't need to analyze what I've already analyzed. Otherwise, resistance on the way up, you can see that. Is this resistance 210? maybe intraday, but I think this is the first one. It was prior support. This I could remove, it's totally obsolete. If we keep going up, the last support from over here, 2.5, nice number. After that, yeah, I agree. There you go. But EXK, even though the chart looks horrible, I do like this type of action. It's just unfortunately the sector keeps dragging it down. But to me, it suggests it wants to go up. It's just not allowed to yet. So when it's allowed to, it should go up quite fast, like a buoy being held underwater. All right, that's EXK. Now I start to look up the ones that I accidentally deleted. CDE. This is why I was saying 2.13. Okay, so CDE all the way back down, retesting the descending. So that's why this one's still there, still a bit relevant, which coincides absolutely perfectly with the horizontal. So CDE is one of my favorite ones. It's a great one to hold on the way up, but as you can see, when things go down, it goes down. Support around 2, we're almost there. We're pretty much there. I mean, if the sector starts to rally, this will rally very quickly all the way to what looks to be 2.4 support resistance. And then after that, next resistance is 2.8. I covered that in my last video when we were looking more green. Obviously, we've gone down this week. After 2, I have never looked, wow, 2 really is the COVID lows too. So I might as well stretch this out just to make the point in case I zoom out my chart. After that, it's the 2016 low, or the December 2015 low. Wow, 1.6. You know what? I'm going to have to put that in. And let me tell you, I will be buying this. I don't care what the sector's doing. I will just, on general principle, be buying CDE down there. Wow, I'm going to have to pay attention to CDE next 1 or 2 weeks. So that's it. Those levels where it is, just above 2, and then 1 point. Let me just move the chart. And then 1.6. Incredible. Which is quite a move down, and it looks quite close, but percentage-wise from where we are, 1.6. 20-25% move. It shouldn't be that easy for a stock to move down 25%. Yeah. Okay, next one is Discovery, DSVSF. Another one that's absolutely at its lows. This one I'm going to remove because it's just interfering with the visuals. We already have this level covered. Just revisiting its old lows, as it kind of should. Again, the GDX, the GDXJs are not at their lows, but this has been one of the weaker ones. This is a level. 40 is a level. Every 10 cents is a level. I haven't even drawn the lines because I just remember that. I mean, this is not an obvious level. 30 is not an obvious level, but 20 is a much more obvious level for me. It's also a lot lower, so. But it doesn't get too obvious, actually. This is the last obvious level. The best one was really 50 cents up here, just above 50 cents. But now we're at 40. Yeah, it's not obvious. 30 is a bit of a level. 20 is a bit more of a level. But even there, it's not that obvious. We should not be going down to 20. That is a 50% drop from where we are. I haven't bought Discovery in a while because I had too much on the way up. And it's just the value's dropped. But it's now in line with the other peers, the other silver peers. So the only reason I would buy Discovery now is because I just feel like the whole sector is going to reverse and go up, but I don't have that feeling yet. So I'm just going to hope that it holds. Hope is a bad strategy, but if it goes lower, it depends. I'll basically buy when I think the sector's done going down, which I'm still not confident of. So there you go. Otherwise, it's really 10-cent increments. On the way up from 40 is that 55 level, 54, 55. You can see it's not exactly 10 cents. After that is this massive descending. That'll be extremely significant because it's very long term. It's hit many times the pivot points. So it's very credible. So actually, before we get to the 60, 65, sorry, before we get to this level here, the 70, just imagine we do it straight away. Once we close above this descending, which will be above 60, yeah, then it's on. Then this thing can swing all the way to $1. Like this could have a 40, 50% move in a week or more. So that's Discovery. Next one is Aris Mining. Another one that got deleted. So Aris Mining, Not bad, not bad. You can see the resistance levels worked out, but it was just finding resistance below. I wanted to sell actually like 277 and I missed it just by a few cents. Bit annoying. But anyway, it's nowhere near its lows like the others. So, and it's had good news. This is now relevant. It's had good news. It's a good stock. I like it. It's a bit of a buy the dip candidate. I just feel like others will go up more, like first Majestic, Fortuna, CDE. So I probably won't add to this, even if it goes all the way down, even though I know it will go all the way up quickly because it doesn't belong down. It's been, higher lows and it's just looking for an excuse to go up. But the sector's saying, no, you have to delay that for now because everyone's going lower. I really like this one. I really do like this one. And when I zoom out, okay, don't pay attention to this. Oh my God, it can go up 10,000%. That's not how it works. But, it's near its lows and it's very strong down here. Low 2 is very strong. So if it goes down to 2, maybe I add a tiny bit. I don't know. Depends what the others are doing actually. But it's a very good stock. Resistance is clear. It's 2.8. And then after that, honestly, if it starts to clear above 2.8, I think it'll go way past the low 3s to 3.4, 3.6 very quickly. But low 2s, absolute level of support. And that's all I have to say about that. Mag Silver. This one also had good news, good earnings several weeks ago, I think, but people have forgotten about that, and it's just been drifting lower highs, lower lows. I was expecting better price action, but obviously the index forces it lower. It did close decently off its lows, and it's just about holding its support. It's just below 10, but I think it can still count as general support. So it's just about holding this 10 zone. After that, I've got 9. I don't see it going down. It could go down to 9 if the miners go and reach their 1810 gold lows. It could be down at 9, but it should really rally decently because it's had good earnings recently, and there's no reason for it to go down other than the sector forcing it down. So if the sector reverses, it should finally close above this descending. That's the first resistance. It's got to clear this descending and then close above it by a bit, not to the point where it's debatable. And then up it goes to the next. I think 13.5 is really the next strong resistance. So just have to give it some time, a bit like all the other ones. Okay, GLGDF, Gogold. This one's also just drifting lower, new low. Look at that, close at low day, not the best. I have very, very little in this one, so I don't mind. This looks like a decent level. If it gets to 70, that would be decent. I would actually finally add to that because I have very little in this one. And I wouldn't mind making it a bit of a medium-sized position. But, everything's on sale, so everyone is competing for allocation. And it hasn't been that strong on the rallies either, so it's not one that I'm impatient to sell because I don't think it's got what it takes yet. But if it starts to go much lower and I can maybe double my position, then I'll probably be looking forward to selling it more. But it's a good stock. You can see it's come down a lot like all the others, but we're not at COVID lows like any of the others, which would be an absolute decimation for this. And yeah, next support level I'm seeing around here, 70 cents. I could be wrong. It could be a little. No, I think roughly it's right. Look, it's the low from here. It did pierce higher, but it's pretty much a bit of a support zone here. Here, resistance there, also resistance 3 times here. Well, that was more 60 cents. Whatever. It's a rough, a rough support zone. On the way up, it's really the descending, a bit like Mag Silver. It's got to clear that descending, and then we can start venturing into the 1s, 115, 130, etc. Okay, K92, KNT, the Canadian one, hovering around its lows, which also coincides with this support zone I've got, which was resistance. So I think you can say that just above 4.5 is support and 475 is the same thing. So I think we're pretty much around support now. If we go lower, you'd expect $4 to be a level because it's a nice round number, but it doesn't. Yeah, it is because it pierced higher each time, but it was trying to say that $4 was resistance. So $4 would be should be support if we start to close below 450. After that, 350 maybe. It's the low from here. I will see. For now, I'll leave 4.5 in. I might just add 4, even though it's obvious that because if it's a big round number. It's a bit like Gogold, actually. It's gone up a lot, coming all the way down, but nowhere near its COVID lows like some of the others. I remember this was making the headlines very often during this period. That's when I first heard of K92, and then I bought it late when I thought the sector was going to go up more, and it was just underperforming, and that's why I bought it late, and that's why it's not down that much, and I don't have that much in it. So Gogold and K92 are very similar in that respect for me. Okay, let's look at Metalla. Another late entry. I bought this around 2.8, 2.9. So I'm pretty much where I bought it. I don't care that it's actually closed at low of day 2.7, which is still just about support. If we go lower, $2, that's a big drop. I mean, it doesn't look like much on the chart, but from 2.7 to 2 should be a massive, okay, 20%. I always think it's more. Anyway, just over 20% drop. Still, that's quite a bit, and I don't even think it will do that if the miners go all the way down to their 1810 gold low that they were recently at, which is like 5.5% down from where they are. So let's see. Metalla, yeah, weak price action. I'm surprised. I'd expect it to be a lot stronger down here, but maybe I'll throw my Wheaton stuff into here from one streamer to another. That's probably worth it. But I know a lot of sophisticated investors liked this a lot higher. So I have no doubts about it doing well and weathering the storm, because this should be just a temporary storm, and what an opportunity it would be if it goes lower. The levels are a bit hard to call, though. You'd really have to go back down to here. And I mean, from 2.7, where's the next level? The low from here, 2.3, maybe 2.3 before we get to this. Wow, 1.9, 210, 2.3. Whatever, let's see. I'll give it some time. I don't see it going much lower than 2.7. So there you go. There's 2 other stocks I'm going to cover. Eldorado, this is just because of subscribers. So this one, I mean, there was a bit of resistance here. I remember this 11 to 11.5, bit of a sell zone. Then again, everything's come down. So obviously it's come down too. But I just feel like if everything went up, it wouldn't have gone up as much as the others. There's a lot of resistance here, not just 11 and 11.5, but just above. Look at this resistance from here. I think that would have played a role. And then above that at 12, you'd have the high from here. There's a lot of little mini zones of resistance, and the amount of percentages you could have made at the time I made that comment from 11, because 10%, you would have gone through like 4 levels of resistance just to get to 12. So 10% move up would have encountered a lot of resistance, and you could have made that in any of the other stocks. If everything was going up, they would have done 10% in a day, some of them. But we went down. So did Eldorado. And to be honest, Eldorado probably did not go down as much as some of them. But, you know, look at Newmont, that went down. But I think Newmont, where it is now, will probably do better than Eldorado, where it is now. But actually, they're very different stocks, aren't they? One of them's massive, one of them's a medium. But anyway, support levels, maybe here just under 10. 10-ish, just under 10, roughly. After that, it's descending. Not really. Imagine it goes all the way down. You're probably near the lows anyway. 8.5, I would say. Keep a rough 8.5-ish. Well, I'll leave this where it is. I'll leave this descending anyway, because it's not obsolete until it's been touched or it's gone below it. So I'll leave the lines where they are. But from now, the next support zone is just under 10. Say 9.9. Resistance will be no longer this. Resistance will be 11.5. And again, you've got these 2 others on the way up to 12. Okay, Hecla. Oh, that's a nice little candle. I mean, it could be better, but that's not bad. So support is 3.6, first of all. But you could say this entire zone, I want to try and make an average, 3.4 to 3.6. So I guess this should be around 3.5. So around 3.5-ish, you've got support. If I zoom out, it looks a bit more obvious. But that's a decent candle. If we start to close below 3.4, that won't be great. And then we go down to, well, these are levels I put in years ago. I mean, I guess 3 is a big round number. maybe just overdoes it, goes to 2.8. Let's see. If we were to close below 3.4, yeah, 2.8 seems more of a level than 3. Just looking at this one here, I mean, it's generally 2.9. You could just do an average and say 2.9. I'd probably base it on the GDX and the gold. When that reverses, Hecla will bounce. But I'd say I'm inclined to say 2.8 is more of a level than 3, funnily enough. But let's see. First, let's see if it closes below 3.4, because that was decent up move there on not up move, but decent move off its low. Okay, let's reset the chart and just check the resistance. This is the last stock. Okay, resistance 4.4, 4.6. We'll just throw these in now. Just my favorite lines are always the descending. So imagine we start to move up. It might take 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days. 4.6 for me. 4.4 to 4.6. And if you start to go higher, because here's prior support. Again, it's a rough one. It's not perfect, unfortunately. Like this level, if you see what I mean, support, and then a bit of resistance. And I think that if you were to go up, it will take a couple of trading days, you may start to encounter this descending. So I would say resistance, let's say 4 point. It's hard, roughly this area, if I can say that, just like a general area of resistance, like this, just as this is a general area of support, if you see what I mean, because of the descending and the horizontal. Anyway, that'll do for now. I hope that was concise. I don't think I missed anything. Yeah, let me know if you want me to cover anything else. And yeah, just generally your comments. I hope that was useful. Otherwise, have a very, very nice weekend, and let's look forward to next week. Hopefully it's a bit of a reversal. Yeah, good luck.